Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, July 22nd, 2018. Last week at this time, I thought that Hilary would be jumping into bed with Dr. Nate, not lying on her hospital deathbed. I thought that Billy would be losing more money, not losing Phyllis. I thought that JT's twin would be in handcuffs, not that JT would end up being Nick in a prosthetic mask. And I thought that Jack would end up being a Chancellor, not nearly a Newman. What the hell happened this week? Was I just way off in every single perception that I had about this show? Or did the show just decide to bring all of their current storylines to a screeching, grinding halt and then just point everything in an entirely different direction? Switch up the employee roll call at all of the companies, switch up the couples, get Hilary and her baby out of here. Like, I cannot be the only one who experienced whiplash this past week, right? What was the reason for the abrupt change in everything? The show moved so fast. There were parts where it felt like a completely different show. I would have sworn to you last week, and I did, that Jack's DNA test results would be a match between him and Philip Chancellor. All signs pointed toward us gearing up for a war of the century over Chancellor Industries. So when Jill grabbed that envelope, ripped it open, and laughed out loud after reading the results, crushing Jack's dreams, letting him know that he's not in fact a Chancellor, I was stunned. All that work for nothing? Kyle rummaged a decades-old dead body just so that Dina could wander downstairs 15 minutes later and suddenly be able to clarify that she was in love with Philip, but oh, oops, they never actually made love. Are you kidding me? The past 2 weeks, Dina has been calling Philip Chancellor II Jack's father, saying this was your father, and now this week she's flipping through her scrapbook, pulling out those missing diary pages that we've been wondering where they were, and they confirm in her writings that the love affair with Philip was platonic and pretty much a little bit one-sided on her part. Damn! I mean, yay, but damn! I also thought that Billy and Summer would continue to keep his gambling a secret from Phyllis for at least another week. I made our poll question from last week. Should Summer tell Phyllis about Billy's gambling problem? 74% of you said yes, tell her, but that secret was exploded by Tuesday. By Tuesday! Sure enough, the private eye that Phyllis hired followed Billy right to a hotel room. Isn't there a casino in Genoa City, or at least a gambling boat on the water right next to Jabot? Why do these poker games always have to take place in a hotel room? Isn't there an appropriate place to gamble in this town? Well, Phyllis goes right to that suite, bangs on the door thinking her man is in there with some cheap floozy, and she flings open the door, sees him inside, revealing that he's right there taking place in a card game. I don't know if Phyllis was relieved by that or more angry, because I think, in a way, an affair is something that Phyllis could oddly conceive of. She's had affairs, people have affairs, but Billy gambling again is Billy gambling with his entire future, and it just doesn't seem justified. Oh, Billy justifies it perfectly fine. As soon as they get a chance to confront each other in public, by the way, in a big old fight, Billy justifies it completely by telling Phyllis that it's all fine. I mean, I won all of the money back. I'm back in the black. There's no problem here whatsoever. But as Phyllis said, I got news for you, buddy. Your troubles are just beginning. She storms off, goes home to confront Summer. Now, since Phyllis knows all about the poker game that's at the apartment that started it all and is questioning Summer about it, Summer assumes that Billy told Phyllis everything, even though he didn't. So Summer unwittingly fills in all of the rest of Phyllis's blanks, and now Phyllis knows that Billy bailed Summer out of her little in-the-hole poker game, now realizing that Billy has helped Summer cover her tracks. Summer has helped Billy cover his tracks. They were doubly betraying her. Phyllis has been lied to by her boyfriend and her daughter. They had become little allies over it. Way to make her feel completely in the dark and completely alienated, and she was. I think that Phyllis was completely right to be furious, and frankly, I think she was right to kick Billy out of the house. He deserved it. I love them as a couple. I really do. They're probably one of the hottest couples in daytime right now, but he deserved to get his ass handed to him. And I was glad that she did it. Like, if Billy had seemed remorseful, that would be one thing, but I think Billy felt like everything he had done was right and it was correct because he won all of the money back. So what's the problem, Phyllis? Well, that's not the point. The point is not the gambling. The point is the lies about the gambling and pulling her daughter into cahoots over the lies, over the gambling. So Billy is just, even though he's on the up right now, all this really represents is him being on the high end of the gambling cycle. Billy has won, so he's feeling real good. He's feeling invincible. So when Phyllis tosses him the duffel bag, tells him to get out of the house, he gets all indignant with her, thinking that she's the one that's being unreasonable. Meanwhile, Summer's like yap, yap, yapping in the background right there, trying to defend Billy and say, well, it's my apartment and I don't want him to go. Summer, back off. I felt that, I mean, like, it just blew my mind that rather than coming off as sorry, Billy was acting like Phyllis was the bad guy here. Summer was acting like Phyllis was the bad guy here. Unbelievable. I also couldn't believe that it was Jack who ended up encouraging Phyllis to calm down. Phyllis was out of her mind with the anger toward Billy at the beginning of the week. He's texting her, trying to arrange a time where they can at least meet to talk. And Phyllis is like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not getting back together with you. Forget it. I mean, this is how Phyllis is. You know that it's all probably part of the game, but she's at least making him pay for what he's done. It was Jack who convinced Phyllis to look at the situation from a little bit different of a point of view. Gee, isn't it interesting how there's always a man or two who are ready right there to help Phyllis, to comfort Phyllis, to offer her some support. Well, Jack says, Phyllis, Billy is a gambling addict. He doesn't really need scorn right now. What he needs is your help. maybe Phyllis can help Billy overcome his addiction in the same way that Phyllis helped Jack overcome his addiction to the pills. I'm sure that in a way Phyllis wanted to hear that. I'm sure that it validated Phyllis's desire to want to forgive Billy. Of course she wants to forgive Billy. Of course she wants to help him. So she runs around town trying to track Billy down, can't find him until she does find him in yet another hotel room, tossing around chips, smiling with a big old Jack Nicholson Joker smile on his face, having a blast. First part of the week, I'm like, go Nick. Second part of the week, I'm like, no Nick. Oh, like the rest of the Newman family, I am having a little bit of a hard time wrapping my brain around Nick's complete and total personality change. Did he accidentally hit his head or something while we weren't looking? He fell, bonked his head, and then that's what caused the personality change? I don't know entirely how to feel. I feel mixed. I can't wait to hear how you guys are feeling. You've been weighing in throughout the course of the week, and I want to get some official numbers on how you are feeling about this new ruthless version of Nick. Are you rooting go Nick, or are you dying inside saying no Nick? YRChat.com, that's our poll question for the week. I was giving Nick a big old round of applause for beating Victor at his own game. Big thumbs up. And Nick did so in the most wonderfully lame way possible. Although it is a little icky, I have to give some credence here to the argument that it is a little bit icky that Nick chose to gaslight two women that he cares a lot about, his mom and his fiance, in order to do it, in order to get back at Victor. And then here's where it all falls apart. When Sharon questions Nick about his decision and the things that he's done to get back at Victor, Nick gets all drunk and raw dogs Phyllis on the kitchen counter. I mean, whoa, that's where I gotta jump off the ride. Oh, she baited him into that, didn't she? The way Phyllis was talking all dirty to him. I mean, she was like talking dirty to him, telling him, you know, making him feel like a big man. Oh yeah, I just think it's real hot the way you did this to Victor. Yeah, you're being real assertive and mastermind. It's such a turn on. I mean, she was really feeding his ego. Okay, I have to back up to the beginning. I mean, so much has happened. I could jump in at any spot, but we have to start at the beginning, because where we last left off, Victor and JT were having their epic standoff in the back alleyway. We're looking at JT's face, absolutely clear as day. JT finally opens his mouth to say something, the moment that I've been waiting for. But wait a minute, that's weird. JT's mouth is moving, but Nick's voice is coming out of it. Nick... He reaches up to his face, peels back this huge rubber mask, and reveals that it was Nick masquerading as JT all along. This was all along part of Nicholas Newman's master plot to get revenge on Victor Newman. It was so dumb, I loved it. I captured a GIF animation of Nick pulling off the mask. If you want to go to YRChat.com and watch that about 100 times, that's what I've been doing all week. Just watching him do that special effect about 100 times. You can kind of see and imagine how Y&R accomplished that effect, and that's why I wanted to screen grab it. It was clear there was a little bit of practical effect and a little bit of special effect going on there. I'm sure they just superimposed JT's image on a rubber mask and then kind of stretched it and then jumped to the actual physical reveal of the mask. I thought it was entertaining, but I'm also like, really, Nick? That's elaborate. I mean, the fact that he went to the trouble of commissioning a professional movie-grade prosthetic mask, and that he's like wearing it all this time. You know it had to be hot up in that thing. Mask on, hoodie up. Nick is normally such a jockish sweetheart. Not exactly the mastermind kind. I feel like I've known Nick for around 20 years, and I've never gotten the vibe from him that he's the mastermind kind. And I kind of get the same vibe from Joshua Morrow. So Nick revealing his master plot to Victor and to everyone throughout the week, it wasn't super believable to me, I'm sorry to say. I mean, Nick, look, it was good. Nick had a lot, Josh Morrow had a lot of dialogue this week. If you just think about the sheer volume of dialogue that Josh Morrow had to memorize and perform this week, that was an acting challenge for him, and I'm sure he had a full plate. And don't get me wrong, I do think he did a good, solid job, and it is a nice change of pace as a viewer to see Nick in a different light, but it was a little bit jarring. I struggled with it. I struggled making the leap on this entirely 180 directional personality change. I think that in the weeks to come, I'll settle into it a little bit more. I don't know if anybody else had any problem whatsoever, but you know, I think as time goes on and there's a little bit less, and instead of, as a viewer, being whacked over the head with this major personality change, as the weeks go on, I think we'll see more subtleties of the performance, and I think I will be able to get used to it and enjoy it a little bit more. What also really kind of surprised me was Sharon's reaction to it all. Normally, I would think that this assertive version of Nick would have made her want to jump his bones, not Phyllis. Or at the very least have a little bit of understanding. I mean, Sharon lived through Nick's pain when Victor cruelly took his son away from him, and then also used Sharon's mental illness to do it. Yet Sharon's first reaction when she learned about what Nick had done, that he was the JT masquerading, her first reaction was not empathy. She said to him immediately, "I don't even know who you are." She immediately distanced herself from him. She immediately put up the wall with him. Now, granted, it is surprising that Nick would choose to haunt Nikki and Sharon and know that he's willingly go forward with this plan, knowing that it is unearthing all of the abuse trauma that Victoria has been through. It is surprising that Nick would do that instead of just making sure that Victor was the one who saw JT alive. All of this could have been accomplished by gaslighting Victor, not gaslighting all the women in his life. It's a storyline leap, and I think that that contributes a little bit to my trouble making the leap. It doesn't entirely seem to make sense, doesn't entirely seem to be motivated in that way. I just think there was clearly another path. I mean, I can understand why the women in his life are like, hold on a minute. I mean, you're taking a page from the book of Victor here, and in the process of getting this revenge on Victor, you're becoming the very thing that you want to defeat. I understand both sides of the argument perfectly, but still, I can't help but think that Sharon and Nikki and Victoria, you know, I mean, if they weren't also keeping this major secret about JT, then maybe they wouldn't have been quite so offended by what Nick had done. Did anybody else think that, well, maybe it's a little bit like Nick, like almost as if Nick keeping his secret and going forward with his plan put their secret and their plan in jeopardy, and so that ticked them off a little extra. Nick felt totally warranted and justified in all of his actions because his plan worked. He got back custody of Christian, he's getting back at Victor, destroying his company, and he's not done yet. Sharon and Nikki and Victoria are confronting Nick about everything that he's done when he just puts an abrupt stop to the conversation and makes this announcement proclaiming that this plan that they know about so far is only the beginning and all will be revealed tomorrow. Okay, drama. Okay, drama, Nick. So, the very next day, all of the women in Nick's life received this anonymous invitation from a company called Dark Horse that no one has heard of. Gee, what could this be all about? Guess we'll all just show up blindly at this empty office building. How did no one figure out immediately that this is Nick? Like, just last night he said that all would be revealed tomorrow. Come on, put two and two together, you guys. So Nikki and Sharon and Summer and Abby and I think Victoria too all showed up at this new set. It's a brand new boardroom. It's clearly going through the stages of construction. There are exposed walls and artificial lighting poles and things to keep it lit. The glass door to the new boardroom is branded with the Dark Horse company logo, and all of the women are entering into this room wondering who could be behind this oddly Newman-centric invitation. Isn't it weird that we're all Newmans and we're all being called to this mystery business meeting? Well, just at the peak of their curiosity, Nick finally walks through the doors of the conference room and he reveals the behind the scenes stages of his master plan, filling in the blanks on everything that he's been doing all along for the past couple of weeks while we thought he was just biding his time, planning a wedding. No, no, no. Nick reveals to everyone how he was the one who hacked into Newman Enterprises. He was the one who released Victor's medical records to the public, and he was the one who impersonated JT. It was like experiencing an entire month's worth of stories in 3 to 4 minutes, literally. The fact that everything Nick revealed took place in 3 or 4 flashback scenes just confirms to me, sorry, that this was a quick storyline directional change by Mal Young. Like, okay, here's a bunch of answers for what we're about to do. Now the audience just needs to get on board and accept it. So as soon as they're done using this series of flashbacks of like Nick bribing the computer hacker guy and cozying up to a receptionist and meeting with the homeless guy in a dark alley. I mean, they've explained all of the past month away. So now it's time to establish the direction that we're going to be headed in the future, which is total destruction of the old Newman Empire and an establishment of a new Newman Empire, Dark Horse. As a viewer, I really don't need any convincing at all that Nick would be right to want revenge on Victor, but I do think it was nice that in establishing this new path, Y&R did show us a retrospective of Nick and Victor's relationship. More flashbacks. In fact, 20-year-old flashbacks of this fresh-faced Joshua Morrow entering onto the scene. I mean, what a stark contrast, looking at him as this young, bright-eyed boy, impressed with his father, wanting to gobble up all of the information he can from his father, looking at his father as the hero, and then juxtaposing that with where we are today. We saw the flashback of Nick and Victor as Victor is giving Nick boxing lessons. We had an interesting, I think, reference to Victor teaching Nick how to play chess in the way that we've seen Victor teach Reed and Faith how to play chess. And I thought it was a nice integration that I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the Dark Horse logo is a chess piece. I believe that's the knight chess piece, the horse. And if so, if that's the case, if that was the intention, that is a very nice touch. We also saw flashbacks from when Victor built the ranch. I remember that. I remember seeing that Victor was building this beautiful house for his son and his son's wife, and it was so touching. We saw, though, the de-evolution of the relationship, as for instance, Nick and Victoria and Abby all sued Victor for mismanaging their trust funds. We even saw the more recent conflicts where Victor punched Nick after the charity concert, and also when he offered Nick the CEO position instead of Victoria. We saw all of these moments taking us on the journey to get us to where we are today. How it started off very well. Nick loved his father, but now here he is today. All of the moments they showed in the flashback, I remember quite well. All of the moments they showed in those flashbacks contribute toward Nick's motive. I get it. I didn't even need it. I understand where Nick is coming from. I just wish that they would have made a smoother transition up to this moment. Overnight, Y&R is trying to turn Nick into Adam. I'm not sure Nick is Adam. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Maybe Nick will end up somewhere in the middle. Maybe Nick will end up somewhere in that gray area that we've been discussing. So Nick lays out the groundwork to his attendees on how he plans to move forward, what the next stage of his master plan is. He tells everyone at the meeting that essentially Victor built his company as a way to bring the family together, and it ended up being something that tore them apart. Now, Nick's vision for his company is to bring that family together. Let's build Dark Horse as a counter movement to everything that Victor has stood for. Let's make this an actual family company, except by the end, I'm totally going to turn into Victor after all of this, and everyone can already see it. Obviously, Nikki and Victoria were not going to just jump on the Dark Horse and gallop off into the sunset with Nick. Nikki and Victoria have way too much invested in Victor at this point. Frankly, I think that Nikki and Victoria both independently chose to stand by Victor through thick and thin long before now. This is not new. I think that specifically Nikki is becoming more and more difficult for me to understand. When the battle lines are drawn and Nick asks everyone to choose their side, which he does, Nikki pretty much said, "Ugh, Well, a mother never wants to have to choose between her husband and her son, but that being said, I choose Victor. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then there's Victoria. She's poised to take over Newman Enterprises now. This is a great time for her to continue to be Victor's ally. When Victor retires, he's going to need someone to take over his company. And I think this is a great move from a storyline perspective, because what it does is establish the sibling rivalry of the future. If we keep Dark Horse, Nick runs that his way. We keep Victoria, who was a much more natural heir to Victor's throne anyway, as running Newman Enterprises, and we can have clashes there, the sibling crashes there well into the future. I think that's a great idea for the future of the show. Again, just wish it had been a smoother transition. It was Abby was one of the people who were actually, in fact, I think the only Newman who was willing and wanting to jump on board the Dark Horse with Nick. Good for her. She wants to get out from under Victoria's shadow and have an opportunity to blaze a trail of her own. She was never going to get there with Newman. She was never going to get there with Jabot. So this is something that Abby can latch on to and contribute to, and I hope that that goes well for her. Summer doesn't want to jump on board either. She doesn't want to get in the middle of all of this crap. She's got a sweet job doing nothing at Jabot. All she has to do is walk around in her short little skirts and flaunt herself in front of Billy or Kyle or any other guy in the room, so why would she want to rock the boat? But most importantly, Nick reveals that he has acquired a very powerful executive ally. He doesn't need any of these other Newmans because he's got Jack Chancellor Newman Abbott. That guy. We don't know who his parents are. Stop asking questions about that. Maybe we'll fix it in the future, maybe not. But Jack's on board with this. I mean, Jack's officially, as of this week, not a chancellor. So really, the only thing left for Jack to do is get back to his roots, you know? His roots. War with Victor. At this point in the story, Sharon is the only one who hasn't yet made her decision about where she's going to fall now that the battle lines are drawn. She is in a little bit of a tougher position than everyone else. She has to ponder not only Nick's business proposal, I love that he offered it to her, but she more importantly needs to ponder her future with Nicholas. Can she stand by him so faithfully, even when she disagrees with him, in the same way that Nikki is standing by Victor? As soon as I saw Sharon taking off her engagement ring, I thought, as soon as I got the whiff that she was giving serious consideration to ending the engagement with Nick, I thought, I know who's gonna really appreciate this move by Nick, even if Sharon can't do it. Phyllis. I saw that immediately. I mean, Phyllis is gonna love any opportunity for payback against Victor, and Phyllis loves naughty Nick. Nick goes home, sees Sharon's engagement ring sitting on the table, and I think he's presuming that Sharon is planning to end things. He tries to track Sharon down, but cannot find her. He ends up running into Phyllis at the bar, and Phyllis is also very heartbroken over catching Billy gambling his life away again. They're commiserating, and Phyllis suggests that maybe they should take this party to a place where the drinks are a little bit cheaper, like her apartment. They start talking, and Nick starts revealing his master plan to Phyllis, and Phyllis is pretty much the only person, I suppose this, besides maybe Summer a little bit, who is giving Nick the appreciation and the props for everything that he's been able to pull off. Phyllis was very impressed with him, and I think it made Nick feel a little validated and feel a little good to have someone giving him at least a little bit of praise. So they keep drinking, and drinking leads to video games. And we all know what happens when Phyllis and Nick start foreplaying video games. Good Lord! They ended up doing it right there on her kitchen counter, where Billy or Phyllis or anyone could have just walked right in. For crying out loud, why not do it on the patio where Bathrobe Betty could get a good view of it too? Ugh. In the previews for next week's show, we see Phyllis and Nick scurry in to cover up their sex night real quickly. I love drama, but I feel more disappointed in Nick for what he did with Phyllis, for sleeping with Phyllis, than for anything he did regarding Victor. I mean, I was willing to give him a pass for any of that, but I'm disappointed in him for sleeping with Phyllis. I can understand it all from Phyllis's perspective. Phyllis got hurt by Billy. Phyllis was hurt and betrayed by Billy, but Nick wasn't hurt or betrayed by Sharon. Sharon didn't do anything wrong, from my view anyway. I mean, not this time. Not at this particular juncture. She questioned him, but that's all she did. She didn't hurt Nick. So I don't understand why he would be so rash and give in to this so quickly. I mean, was Sharon not entitled to take a moment to think about the bomb and the complete personality change that her fiancé just dropped in her lap? Sharon took one moment of personal reflection to decide if she would be able to live with this new version of Nick, and in that moment, Nick turned around and cheated on her again with Phyllis. Of all people, with Phyllis. You know what? If it took so little, if it takes so little to cause Nick to jump right on top of Phyllis on the kitchen counter, then I guess Nick and Sharon just weren't as strong as I hoped that they were. I guess that we are just right back to the same problem that Nick and Sharon have always had with their relationships: infidelity on both sides. Infidelity will ruin them every time. Well, that or paternity tests. Two more Ashley-related notes that I probably shouldn't bother in any way, shape, or form to try to predict upon, considering Eileen Davidson is going to be leaving the show, and I have a terrible track record for predicting anything right now. But just two more little notes that, number one, Billy tried, not so subtly, to send Ashley on an out-of-the-country business trip to get her off his back, and Ashley, seeing exactly what's going on, decided to make a deal with Kyle to, while she's gone, keep her informed about what Billy is up to. But number two, I don't think that Ashley is going to need Kyle's help whatsoever to bring Billy down. Jack and Ashley are suddenly on good terms. Did you notice that? Because Jack and Ashley have been a little dicey over the last couple of months, but Ashley was very comforting toward Jack. They were very cordial. They had coffee together this week. I suppose we can just chalk that up to the storyline redirection, I suppose. But, I mean, the bigger issue is Phyllis told Jack about Billy's gambling addiction. How long before Jack confides what Phyllis told him to Ashley about Billy's gambling addiction? I mean, as soon as Ashley finds out about that, she's gonna be all over him. Presto! Like magic, Mariah and Tessa are a couple. They are together. Mal Young finally made a decision about these two. He said, all right, we're doing this. We're doing it. We are fully in. Mariah and Tessa had their first date, even if they didn't realize that it was their first date at the time. Kyle putting them together for the movie led to coffee afterwards, and it was Tessa who was the one who suggested that it felt like a first date, and they agreed that, you know what, let's let this be officially our first date. From here on out, this will be known as our first date. Mariah was adorable. She seemed very flummoxed in that moment. I don't think she exactly saw it coming. I don't think she was expecting Tessa to return the feeling so directly, because Tessa hasn't been returning the feeling very directly for quite a while now. But Mariah just got this huge dorky grin on her face. It was adorable, and she just said, yeah, you know what? Look, we're dating. This is it. We're dating. I thought that Y&R did a nice job of presenting their first date as a first date like any first date. The fact that they're both women were not factoring into it. The first date had all of the awkwardness and all of the questioning that any first date had. I thought that seemed like an intentional choice. And at the end of the date, we see Mariah and Tessa sharing a kiss and then a snuggle on the rooftop bar, both seeming very sweet, both seeming very comfortable and very happy. I'm very happy for them. Mariah seems happier than she's ever been. I am seeing expressions from Cameron Grimes that I've never seen before. I get a sense of this feels like something she's wanted more than anything. Mariah, not Cameron. That Mariah has wanted more than anything, and now it's finally coming true to her. And it's just astonishing to her that she's actually winning. I think that Mariah has always felt like she just loses and loses and loses, and she trips and she falls and she's clumsy, and finally here she is winning, and that seems like a relief to her. And maybe she almost doesn't know what to think of it. Maybe she's almost wanting to hold on too tightly to it. She definitely was not expecting to see her boss while she was out on this date holding hands proudly with her girlfriend. How scandalous. She's there with her girlfriend in public for the first time, which is a moment. I'm sure that is an important moment for Mariah. And then you've got Hilary in the background glaring at them. I thought in that moment that maybe Hilary was going to find a way to relish the opportunity to make a big deal out of it, maybe embarrass Mariah a little bit, but she actually didn't. They approached Hilary in order to address the awkwardness a little bit, and Hilary just said, yeah, I see that you're together. About time. Anyone could see that you two what was going on with you two all along. And it's funny because Mariah was shocked that Hilary already knew. Here Mariah thinks she's keeping this big secret, and everyone around her kinda already knew. That's the second or third time, I think, that someone has mentioned that they realized there was more going on between Tessa and Mariah than met the eye. That almost everyone around them realized what was happening even before they did. I support Mariah and Tessa completely, although I have to admit, I think this storyline is suffering a little bit from the same abrupt directional change that the other storylines are. It came out of absolute nowhere, and they're just together now, just boom, okay, here we are. I would have liked, like Nick, to see a little bit of build up to this so that I could really get there and really enjoy that moment, for instance, when they first when they kissed. Because when they first kissed months and months ago, I had the feeling that Tessa, even though she was with Noah at the time, just wasn't sure. I think I got the feeling that she appreciated Mariah, but that she was surprised that Mariah would kiss her and had these feelings. And now it seems like Tessa is the one who is driving the relationship forward. I wish, and I hope we get, maybe next week, I wish that Tessa would have an opportunity to open up to the audience about her sexuality, because Mariah has talked about it. We were with Mariah as she was going through this renaissance of discovering who she really was and what she really wanted, and really exploring the bounds of her sexuality. We've seen all that from Mariah, but we haven't seen it from Tessa. Has Tessa dated women before, or is this her first time too? I don't know. I wish Tessa would have the opportunity to open up to the audience about her past and about her life. I do personally think that the characters have chemistry together, but what do we really know about Tessa? Nothing. Her sister and her relationship with Noah and her music career that she blew, that's it. I mean, we still also have the mystery of those XZ text messages, which I have a feeling are going to be benign, and I have a feeling that they are going to be related to her sister. Mariah made a point during their dinner date of saying to Tessa that she didn't feel exactly comfortable talking about the details of things that were going on in Sharon's life. Like, Mariah didn't want to share things that might have been troubling Sharon. So Tessa doesn't necessarily need to tell Mariah every detail about what's going on with her life if, for instance, those text messages do relate to her sister. But I think that Mariah is going to learn that lesson the hard way. On Friday, Tessa gets a text message, and then she says Devon needs her to do some work, so she's got to leave their date. She scurries away, and then later Mariah catches her hugging some girl, we can't see her face, at the rooftop bar. Now, the rooftop bar girl could be absolutely anyone. I mean, the whole meeting could be about absolutely anything. Given the pace of the show, maybe we'll find out that Tessa is actually a secret mind control agent working for the government, working to turn quirky, nice Midwestern girls into lesbians. Can someone step into their vehicle once, just once, and not have it turn into a horrific car accident? And so we approach on Hilary's end. I really never would have guessed this, and I certainly never would have guessed that Hilary's mentee, Shauna, would, by accident, end up starting the chain of events that not only led to the death of Hilary's child, but will probably, I fear, lead to the death of Hilary as well. Charlie and Shauna are two normal teenagers. They are flush with raging hormones, and they are looking for opportunities to be alone together. Hilary and Devon are not Shauna's parents. Hilary and Devon are not even Shauna's legal guardians. They did not raise her. They did not instill values in her. They are simply trying to look after her until she gets out of school and can look after herself. So as such, Hilary and Devon's house has a different set of rules than Lily and Kane's house. Maybe Hilary and Devon would have a different set of rules had they raised Shauna, if Shauna had been their daughter, but she's not. Lily and Kane do have a set of rules for Charlie. Lily and Kane have raised Charlie since birth. They expect him to behave in a certain way, and they expect him to abide by the rules that they set in place. all perfectly reasonable. However, when kids are going through adolescence, I can speak from my own personal memories of being a teenager. You're going to challenge those rules. You're going to push those boundaries. There is nothing abnormal about Charlie and Shauna sneaking around to have sex. It's been going on since the beginning of time. The problem is Lily and Hilary have a long-standing feud that has nothing to do with the children. And Shauna made the mistake of thinking that she could take advantage of the easier set of rules at Hilary and Devon's household and invite Charlie over with his pocket full of condoms to have sex there. Lily finds out what's going on, and she storms over to the condo. She uses her spare key to get inside, and she catches the two teens after they have just had sex. The rational thing for Lily to have done would be to hope that her years of raising Charlie and instilling those good values in him had paid off, and to want to approach Charlie asking him and hoping that all of those years of work that she's put in have made him choose to be responsible and choose to use a condom, which he did. But instead, Lily erupts into a very loud, very furious shame fest toward the teens. Hilary comes home. She realizes what's going on. And Shauna thinks that her big sister, Hilary, is going to cover for her, just like Charlie's sister wanted to cover for him. Shauna tells Lily that Hilary told her it was okay for Charlie to be there, so everything's okay, but that's not true. That's not the truth. Shauna lied. Shauna lied and told Hilary that she was going to be studying for those SATs that she's been studying for months, pretending that she's the good girl, which all teens kind of do. She lied to Hilary, brought Charlie over, knowing that they were going to have sex. This was the intention. It was discussed beforehand. This was all kind of part of the little teen plan. And Shauna expected Hilary to cover for her. Rather than disciplining Shauna right there on the spot, rather than disciplining the child that is not hers, Hilary does kind of cover for Shauna, and she decides in that moment to just take the brunt of Lily's rage. Hilary and Shauna had kind of already had some conversations about Lily and that she's a little bit different, she's a little bit stricter. That's just how she is. You kind of just got to roll with it. But Shauna, now being the emotional teen that she is, realizes the consequences of her actions, that she's now caused this huge problem for Hilary, someone she loves and someone who I think she wants to impress and she cares very much about. I don't think that anything that happened or anything that follows is wanted by Shauna. I don't think it takes away from the relationship that Hilary and Shauna had. I think that Shauna felt guilty for causing this trouble with Hilary, knows Hilary totally just saved her butt, and so she can't deal with it and runs away. Shauna runs away, something, by the way, that it's not the first time she's done. She ran away from her aunt's house. She's not with her family. There's got to be some reasons and some things going on there. Lily and Hilary and Charlie decide to get in the car and go looking for Shauna. Lily just continues to grind on Hilary in the car. Lily is barely aware that she's driving. She is barely keeping her eyes on the road. She is putting way more emphasis on the argument than on the vehicle that she's operating, and the car very suddenly and very shockingly gets sideswiped. Hilary is thrust toward our screens. There is shattered glass in the background. The car windows are crashed. It was clearly a massive impact. It was clearly a very violent impact. That was the end of, I want to say, Thursday's show. Then out of the blue, Friday's show opens up, and so innocently, like with this cool, groovy jazz sequence where Neil is hanging out at his apartment, putting on a jazz record, feeling the music, like laying down on the couch, kicking back, really enjoying himself. Nate comes down, says, "Hey, old man, that music's too loud, and why don't you listen to something like rap anyway? That's the real music." I mean, they're having this discussion about music after all of this has happened, and all the while there's a stretcher being wheeled into the ER. We as the audience don't know who it is. We just see the stretcher and this jazzy tune playing over the background. Very odd but interesting choice, I suppose, and I'm sure you could kind of have a little bit of philosophy over why that choice was made. I mean, jazz maybe a little bit like life. I don't know. It was interesting, but the problem that the jazz music created was the fact that no one can get a hold of Neil. The music is too loud. No one can get a hold of Kane. He is out picking up dinner with Maddie, and no one can get a hold of Devon because he is away on a business trip. Finally, Shauna just shows up at Neil's door, and she breaks the news to him. He shows up at the hospital and finds out that Charlie and Lily are fine, but pregnant Hilary is in critical condition. Now, Hilary has a perfectly fine doctor who seems like he's on the job. And then Nate butts up in the situation, criticizes Hilary's doctor's course of action, and then just declares himself Hilary's new doctor, takes over her chart. Do you think that Devon would have okayed that decision if he was there? I was very surprised that maybe it's all from a good place that Nate had examined Hilary last week in the apartment, so he felt like he was more connected to her case than the other doctor, but something about the fact that he just couldn't let it be, and also that he would want to be involved in that family situation in that capacity, that he would physically want to do a surgery on Hilary. I'm just not sure about that decision. He has her prepped for an emergency surgery, which the original doctor didn't agree with, by the way. That's got to come back up. The original doctor said, "I don't agree with this. I'm here to help you, but I don't think this is the right thing to do." Then Nate goes in for the slice. I mean, we see him go into surgery, like go down to slice Hilary, and the next thing we know, Nate is hunched over this empty surgery table with just this light, one little light showing on the table. And then we have him walking out into the waiting room, breaking some bad news to the Winters family. We don't hear what he's saying. We just see the outside of the window shot, just the physical reactions of the family. And I honestly thought Hilary was dead. Right then and there, I thought it was done. Like, with the way the week had gone, I was preparing myself for no goodbye with Devon, just Hilary gone. And I was crushed. I was not happy. I was not happy. I thought Nate just killed her. I was so mad at Nate on Thursday night, I think it was. He called in a favor with the head honcho of the hospital just so he could take over Hilary's case, just so what, he could be the one to kill her. I was so mad at him. But when Friday's episode opened up, it showed that she was still alive. I was completely shocked. I was not expecting that. But I guess it was more obvious but unfortunate that the baby, of course, didn't make it. And all of the weeks that we've been speculating about Hilary's exit, I didn't really allow myself to think about the fact that she was gonna lose the baby. She wanted that baby so very much, and she tried so very hard to have it, and I felt awful for Devon too. He finally arrives at the hospital and has to receive this horrible news that not only is Hilary in critical condition, but this child that they wanted more than anything in the world is dead. Devon was allowed to visit Hilary right when she came out of surgery, and he just walks in the room and she's sitting there still looking beautiful, and she's been through hell and her hair's all perfect and her makeup's all perfect, and I'm really gonna miss Hilary. But he walks in the room and he just sits down beside her and he picks up her hand and he brings it up to his face, and just the very touch of his hand woke her up immediately. After all that she's been through, she just knew that that was Devon, that he was there with her, and she opened her eyes. And she doesn't ask about herself. She asks about the baby. The very first question she asks was about the baby. And she had to know just by the look on his face. She just knew. I think she knew. What she doesn't know is how bad her condition really is. In the previews for next week's show, we see Devon keeping her condition from her and suggesting that they get married right away. It's gonna be a deathbed marriage. I thought affair. Forgive me. My head just went to affair and then Hilary running out of town, not a deathbed marriage. Next week is going to be hard. You better prepare yourself. I hope you guys have some extra, the Hilary fans like me have some extra tissues lying around or something. It's going to be heart-wrenching. I do hope, though, that Y&R gives this storyline the prominence that it deserves, because with everything else that's gone on this week, I mean, look at me. I've been talking forever, and I'm finally getting around to all of this with Hilary. Like, I hope that Y&R finds a way to, even though everything else is going on, that they really focus in on Hilary. This is going to be it. This is it. We won't see her again. A lot of fans, including me, have connected with her. And even though it's going to be awful, I really want to tune into it, and I really want to savor my last moments with her. Hilary's going to die next week, probably. Of course, I could be wrong. I don't know. I should stop my predicting, but I think she's going to die. Devon's going to marry her on her deathbed, and she's going to die. And the Hilary fans are going to be out for blood. If you are a Hilary fan, I hope you stick around for the fallout, because it's going to get worse. Oh yes, the accident wasn't just some random truck driver's fault. Charlie was in the back seat when the accident happened. He saw everything. He saw that Lily ran a red light, and that's why the truck crashed into them. Lily was so wrapped up in her argument with Hilary that she still doesn't know what happened. I don't think that Lily's sitting in that waiting room knowing that she ran the red light and caused this and is just choosing to keep that a secret. I don't think that at all. I think Lily was so wrapped up in that argument then, the same way that she's just wrapped up and unaware now. I think she was just that unaware of the road, and still is. Charlie is the only one who knows the truth, and Kane is convincing Charlie to just keep quiet about it for now. Charlie wanted to speak up, but Kane told him not to. What do we think about Kane encouraging Charlie to keep it quiet, chatters? I think that's a really big secret to ask a person to keep, and especially a teen. I really do think that Charlie should tell the truth, but I think who he needs to tell the truth to is Lily. I think that Charlie needs to either tell Kane and Kane needs to tell Lily, but somebody needs to tell the truth to Lily first and foremost. Let Lily realize and soak in and navigate and suffer the consequences of her actions. Lily made a mistake. I don't want her to be hung for it, don't get me wrong, but I do think that Lily needs to be aware and then she needs to be held accountable. But I bet you that Kane will continue to encourage Charlie to keep it a secret for at least a little while, because I can see Kane wanting to save his wife that pain. I can see Kane thinking, well, the truth coming out is not going to bring Hilary back. It's not going to change anything that's happening. It's only going to cause my wife more pain. But, I mean, I think she needs to know. Lily's not a monster. Lily's a mother. She's going to feel terrible. If for nothing else, then for what she's done to Devon, that she's caused him to lose a child, and then later his wife. I think Lily needs to realize that. And on top of it, sooner or later, the police are going to start asking questions. I don't think that Lily would want Kane or Charlie or anyone else to lie for her. I think she needs to know. Oh, this is going to be bad. The only question that we still have on the table is, who is the sexy mystery man that Hilary was chatting with at the athletic club while Tessa and Mariah were out on their date? They were having a conversation, and it seemed like the sexy guy was trying to convince, he was giving Hilary an offer for something, and Hilary was turning down the offer, and she was saying that she and Devon are in a really good place right now, and she doesn't ruin that. If it weren't for Devon and the baby and everything, then she would consider it. But she can't, and she asks the guy to not tell Devon anything about it. Devon cannot hear anything about this. Now, Mariah was there on her date, and she viewed this as a potential affair, but I don't think that's true. I think that's way too obvious. Do you guys have any guesses on who the mystery man was and what it's about? I have two guesses, and I should just say from now on, that's all they are, guesses. Number one, it could possibly have something to do with organ donation. I think that if Hilary and the baby are going to die, it's a possibility that there's going to be a question of whether or not they would want Hilary's organs to be donated. Or two, and this is probably more likely, I wonder if the meeting was somehow related to the sale of her show. I wonder if Y&R is going to use that as a way to resolve, or as a way to tie up the loose end of having or not having the Hilary Hour without Hilary. Gee, it sure seems that a lot of chatters are very tuned in to Kyle's every word, because last week's Who Said It quote was, "I'm more than just a pretty face." And the answer, which I thought was going to be really hard for everyone, was Kyle, and yet 17 of you guys got it right. It's almost as if you guys are really, really hanging on his words. I wonder why. Oh, well, congratulations to all 17 of you. Lynn, Henry, Consuela, Heather, Anna, Juanita, Ellen, Tiffany, Cherie, Jamie, Sandra, Ambry, Nathalie, Kyle, not at it, Joanne, Laura, and Diana. You guys all got it right. Here's a new quote for the week. Just because something's different doesn't mean that it's bad. Sometimes it's better. I like that idea, don't you? Because I think we tend to dislike things that are different or resist things that are different, right? But this is a nice little sunny take on that. Just because something's different doesn't mean that it's bad. Sometimes it's better. If you know who said that, go to yrchat.com to leave me your guess. And if you get it right, your shout out will be included in next week's Y&R Chat. Last week I had asked you guys to give me some perspective on Kyle, who is doing some really bad things and then turning around and doing some nice things. And I asked you how you thought that the character was riding the tightrope. Do you feel like he's doing a successful job in doing some bad things, but yet still maintaining our interest and our like in him, and really overwhelming support for him? A lot of people have chimed in to say how much they really like and appreciate Kyle. I also got a lot of really positive comments in general, trying to keep me happy and keep me sunny, I suppose, when I did most certainly have to moderate and take a look at some pretty hateful comments about Mariah and Tessa. And just to follow up on that, I don't want anyone to ever feel that they're being censored in any way, shape, or form. However you feel about any storyline is absolutely valid. I'm just looking for a level of respect and I suppose respect for others' opinion. That's all I'm kind of looking for when it comes to comments. I just want to know that you're not there, trying to cause an argument or to be hateful in any way. I think that we need to kind of maybe just understand that we all look at things different ways. Y&R is it's a window into our own individual little worlds, and all of our individual worlds are different. So I'm just looking for everyone to keep it positive, and you guys did that. So I do appreciate it. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. There was some negativity, no doubt, but it could have been worse, especially considering Mariah and Tessa are there, like kissing and holding hands, and I know that that's probably jarring. We've never seen it on Y&R. I don't really watch any other shows that have openly lesbian couples, so I think it probably is a little bit like, whoa, okay, it's hard not to take notice of it, no doubt, but I do appreciate that in general, even if people disagreed, they were very thoughtful in the comments. Here's a pro Mariah and Tessa comment from Robbie saying, Mariah and Tessa are adorable. I just love how everyone, including Hilary, is being so supportive. I think Mariah and Tessa as a couple are extremely fresh for the show, and the fact that they took their time with it makes their relationship very relatable. Y&R sure did take their time with it. My perspective is that they dropped it, though. I don't think that they did a whole lot to cultivate that relationship in the gap. That's my only argument with it. I think they could have been doing more to get us there, especially when it comes to Tessa. She went from no thanks and I'm gonna steal your work to I think we should go on a date. And I wanted to know what happened in the in-between, and Y&R better give it to us as they follow up. Heather says, Mariah is one of the coolest, funniest characters on the show, and she's finally about to get the one person she's wanted for the past year. I'm so happy for her. Tessa may still be mysterious, and she's given many mixed signals, seeming like she could never figure out how to proceed without hurting everyone around her, then accidentally doing so anyway. But I never doubted that she cares deeply about Mariah, too. I agree with that, Heather, in the sense that I don't ever think that I felt Tessa was specifically trying to be malicious toward Mariah. It's one of those situations where I think you described it well, that she was maybe getting a little desperate and doing some things that she wasn't proud of, but I don't think she was ever out to hurt Mariah. Laura says, we've all seen and heard Mariah crushing on Tessa. I can't recall Tessa doing or saying anything but going along with the crush. If Tessa does like her, I wish they'd write more than just, quote, you mean so much to me. Also, the start of this relationship is void of excitement. It's hard to get swept along with the characters. It needs romance. That's all Tessa has said, Laura. You're right. You mean so much to me. We need that dialogue coming from Tessa. And this has nothing to do with it being a same-sex relationship. From a character perspective, we need to know Tessa in order to want Tessa and Mariah more. Or at all. Henry loves Tessa and Mariah. He says, I love the direction. It's hot, in a good way. They're throwing caution to the wind and on their way to being happy. I know this is a daytime drama, so we'll all just have to use our imaginations, I'm sure, as far as intimacy goes. A kiss is one thing, but anything else we'll just have to imagine, I'm sure. Well, I think this is a very interesting point, Henry, because Mariah and Tessa were talking about an overnight trip this week. They were planning a little vacation and getting a hotel room for it. So I think it is exciting and fresh in a way that it keeps you wondering, how far is Y&R going to take this? Are we going to see Mariah and Tessa in bed in a lovemaking scene? I have tuned into Days of Our Lives, who does have a same-sex male relationship, and they do show them in bed. So I can't imagine that if Y&R is going to go through with the implication of their sleeping together, I can't imagine that they wouldn't show us just a little bit. It seems a little, I mean, I don't know. If you're gonna be in for a penny, be in for a pound. I would imagine we would see the lovemaking scene, but you could be right, Henry, that they might just dabble in it a little bit. I think Y&R certainly knows that they are walking a fine line with viewers because it's such a touchy topic. We'll just have to see. Mal Young seems very fearless to me, and when he chooses to do something, he's gonna do it. So the future will tell. Hey, speaking of intimacy, Diana says Phyllis talks about Billy being an addict. She's an addict herself, a Nick addict. She couldn't wait to get it on with Nick when she heard he and Sharon were on shaky ground. She's using Billy's gambling problem as an excuse to get hot and heavy. You know what I think, Diana? I don't know that Phyllis is a Nick addict. I think she's a sex addict. I think Phyllis and Billy were both sex addicts, so they worked really well together. Frankly, you know what though? Nick is kind of a sex addict too. Oh, I don't know if Phyllis thought about it all that well. I got the impression that it was just born out of pain. You know, it was, you know, I mean, you may have interpreted it differently. I just thought that it was kind of one of those weak, drunk, bad decision type moments, but they sure did get hot and heavy. Liz asks, did anybody else think that when fake JT pulled off his mask that it was gonna be Adam? No, I didn't think that. That didn't even occur to me, Liz, but I saw some other follow-up comments there of people saying they thought it would be Adam too, that would have been a really great soap opera reveal moment. Well, it kind of was Adam, but it was Nick as Adam as JT. Kyle says Nick should put the JT mask back on and visit poor Reed during the music school's parent weekend. Oh, that's awful. I love it, Kyle. Poor Reed. Superplex wants to talk a little about Sharon here. Superplex says Sharon does not have a leg to stand on when it comes to castigating Nick. She is hiding a secret herself, one much more grave than Nick's dirty little trick. If it turns out that this rendezvous ends up destroying her marriage, then she should blame no one but herself. Nick had every justification in applying the strategy he did in order to get the edge over his father, who, I remind you, has no compunction in utilizing the most ruthless tactics imaginable to get what he wants. And then we have a counterpoint here from Ellen saying, I disagree about Sharon. She just happened to be at Victoria's house supporting her friend in a time of need when the unthinkable happened. She wanted to call Paul, but got pressured by the group to keep the secret about Nikki killing JT, etc. Sharon is being loyal. She promised 3 other people, Nick's mother, sister, and ex-wife, not to tell anyone about that night. Nick is protecting his family and finally putting Victor in his place, but there was no reason to keep Sharon in the dark. She is right to wonder why he didn't trust her. His fiancée, the mother of his children, his lifelong love with what he was doing. Obviously, Nick is not very committed to Sharon after all. A taste of power and a compliment from Phyllis and he cheats on her? Sharon's instincts were right. Nick isn't who she thought he was. Sharon has worked very hard to recover from her illness, get stronger, and build a good life. She deserves better than Nick. Come on home, Adam. Hashtag Chatham. Oh, haven't heard that in a while. So I like those 2 points. I think, once again, it is indicative of a pretty decent storyline because both Zoberplex and Ellen make very valid points, and I think that that's the kind of conversation I like to have. That's the kind of conversation that keeps the show going. One other comment from Zoberplex I wanted to mention here too is saying, time and time again, Nikki never fails to find some excuse to return back into Victor's fold. It's as if she cannot conceive of a world that doesn't have Victor standing atop like a colossus straddling Mount Olympus. True, I'm struggling with Nikki too. And Gary also says, Nikki's moral outrage at her son for his lack of understanding and compassion for his father is so out to lunch like so much about her. Nikki prances around Genoa City in her own self-involved, insular bubble, dream world, trying to shape everyone to her particular needs. Arturo, Sharon, Miss Prigley out of the Fine Arts Commission, you name it. I love those 2 points, and I'm glad I wasn't the only one that, it's just over the course of the past couple of weeks, I'm struggling to understand Nikki. Why so much loyalty to Victor and no loyalty to Nick? And even if, let's say she just does agree with Victor, she needs to be the one who's trying to heal this family a little bit, not try to further the cracks in it. Yeah. Nikki. Here's another comment from Gary about Joshua Morrow and Nick in general. Gary says, Joshua Morrow will tell you nobody's going to give him an award for being a great actor, but he is very good still. He's always believable and natural in whatever he's given to do and say. He is Y&R's best voice in reminding viewers of all that Victor Newman has done over the years. And of course, in telling it all, he really isn't mentioning the half of it. For how could any listener out in the audience process the total unbelievability and absurdity of it all? It's always of interest what Y&R will dare to drudge up from Victor's past in telling his current story. Nikki always turns a blind eye. Victoria is not reflective, so it's up to Nick to lay it out what he can. Yes, that is a very good counterpoint. I think, as you said, Josh Morrow did a good, solid job. We need that character of Nick to be that counterbalance to Victor. It is wild and unbelievable, the things and the lengths that Victor would go to all in the name of, in quotes, protecting the family, which we really all know means just getting what he wants. We do need Nick to provide that for us, and in that way, maybe this story is very successful, and maybe we will all be jumped on board and really getting into it by the time fall rolls around. Isn't it interesting that this week felt like a sweets week? I kept thinking it seemed like it should be September or fall or something, and it isn't. So maybe Y&R just decided to do a quick directional change, and they're building up to something really amazing in the fall. Fingers crossed. I mean, it was amazing. It was still good. For crying out loud, look how long I've been talking. Consuela is weighing in about summer here, saying, this is the one time I love summer. Her commentary during Nick's meeting was priceless, and Nick is a total badass right now. I'm loving every minute. I hope the Dark Horse Company turns into a real company and isn't just one of those storylines that goes unfinished. Yes, 2 points. Summer was very funny in those scenes. I enjoyed that very much. It was a little bit of comic relief and someone bringing levity to the seriousness that was going on, especially in that boardroom. And also, I think that if Y&R decides to run with this dark horse idea, it can not only be a good story, but it can also create some structure for the show and for the people to battle within for years to come. Rose says, Nick is my favorite character of the week. First of all, he looked really good in his suit, and then in that dark denim shirt at the end of the week. I'm such a Dark Horse fan and about everything he did to get back at Victor. We will have to say and acknowledge that Josh Morrow did look good during it all. We can argue till the cows come home about whether or not he is giving us an Emmy-worthy performance here, but he certainly was giving us a sexy-looking performance. I agree there. T. Nicole says, I enjoy when a character can have depth to them. Nick is usually viewed as a happy, easygoing good guy, and I love that type of Nick, but I think it's also interesting to see a character like Nick switch from conniving and appear more, or switch to conniving and appear more heartless. Some characters do a dramatic switch from bad to good, but others have phases throughout the show, and they go back and forth between being good or not so good. And like Allie said, the gray area. I'm sure after some time, Nick will be brought back to being the happy good guy he is, but it'll be after he goes through with his revenge phase that he's in. It is interesting that we were talking about the character of Kyle, isn't it? And him being in that gray area, and maybe that's where they're shifting Nick. Nathalie says, I'm torn apart. In a way, I love this new Nick, and I love seeing Victor's face when Nick pulled off that mask and the expression on the face that Nick had when he explained everything to his father. I had chills in a good way, but I'm afraid that Nick lost so much in this process. Let's be clear, Victor deserves everything and more, but Nick begins something dangerous, down a dangerous path that can spin out of control easily. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm worried about. I hope Nick can keep it under control. Connor gives us a good also counterpoint here on Nick. Connor says, I'm sorry if my opinion will not be popular, but I am Team Victor for this one time. Nick's actions are odious. JT, putting a hand to your sister's face doesn't bother you. You impersonate someone who is considered a demon to the town, walk around pretending to be him, putting fear into your sister that he's back for more? Oh my God, I am so revolted by Nick and his justifications. Adam is dead, and the only connection Victor has to him is Christian. Nick, I am done with you. Wow. See, this is why I love Y&R Chat, because, you know, it's like I see things one little way, and you know what? It's valid. That helps give us some more context about Victor's point of view, and some more context even maybe about Nikki's point of view. So thank you, Connor. This is funny from Gary saying, who would have thought after all that soul searching for his true identity that Jack Abbott would end up a Newman after all, and happily without having to pay the price of Victor Newman as his daddy. A coup. Diana says, I had said that I thought Jack and Nick should team up and start a company together since they were both at a point in their lives where they needed a fresh start. Yay! I've always believed that Y&R listens to us chatters when Allie reads our comments. When Y&R showed the flashback of Jack and Nick collaborating together, that also made me think that it wasn't the original plan for the storyline. It looks like Jack was going to be working at Chancellor Industries, but Mal Young says he loves to do unexpected twists. Diana, I do remember your comment specifically saying that you wanted to see Jack and Nick team up, and we are getting that. I don't know if Mal's has any awareness, or maybe an intern has any awareness of Y&R Chat. But yes, I agree. And as you say also, I think that lends a little bit of credence to what I was kind of thinking on my own, that maybe Mal took this as a directional change a little more abruptly. All those flashbacks, yeah. Here also is an interesting point from Zoperplex saying, hey, Jill went from blowing a fuse to being Mother Teresa. Yeah, what's up with that? Jill, I thought, was going to be used on the show in order to help fuel the war over Chancellor Industries, but that's not the case. So is Jill just gone now? If Jack's not a Chancellor and the war won't be on Chancellor Industries and instead it'll be on Dark Horse, then what's Jill got to do? I wonder if she filmed scenes and they didn't end up getting used. I could be wrong. I always am. Oh, let's get into some comments about Hilary here. T. Nicole says, I think it was unfair of Lily to blame Hilary for allowing Charlie and Shauna to be alone together. Hilary can have her own rules in her house, and Lily can have hers. I don't fully remember, but I don't think Hilary was aware that Charlie was coming over. She thought Shauna was doing SAT prep. Lily and Kane should communicate with Charlie and have a mature discussion on what rules are and why the rules are. Yep, I agree, T. Nicole. Lily should have she should have just grabbed Charlie and taken him out of the house and had the conversation with him privately. It really, at the end of the day, didn't have anything to do with Shauna, and it didn't have anything to do with Hilary. Diana says, Lily was so busy telling Hilary that Devon having a baby with her was the worst idea he ever had. How about the fact that you're taking your eyes off the road is the worst idea ever? She not only caused Hilary to lose her baby, to put her own son, his girlfriend, and Hilary all in danger. Agreed. Lily's son was in the car. Bad decision making. I don't think anybody's going to argue that this week, that Lily made a really bad decision. T. Nicole also says it would be horrible for Kane and Lily to hide the fact that Lily was at fault and have the blame on the other driver if they were to get charged. Maybe there will be some drama with Devon wanting to go after the truck driver because he's hurt. It would be even more awful for Kane to keep encouraging his son to hold off on telling the truth. Lily will need to be an adult and own her part in this. It may not have been the time to announce that Lily was at fault while they were at the hospital waiting for updates, but it will need to come out soon. I think you're right that Devon's going to be out for blood. As if Hilary does die, he's already shown little bits of that he wants to know what happened and he wants somebody to be held accountable. And he's going to end up finding that it's his sister. Oh, Cheyenne, who I know is a big Hilary and Devon fan, says, I'm still unsure if they're planning on killing off Hilary's character. On last Tuesday's episode, Hilary had this secret meeting with that guy about some kind of offer, which I assume was a job offer. I feel like there has to be a reason for those scenes, right? P.S. Congrats to Michelle Morgan announcing her pregnancy with a little girl last Sunday on her birthday. Oh, well, first of all, Cheyenne, I am sorry because I know specifically that you are a big Hilary and Devon fan. I do think they're going to kill her, and I do think that that scene with the guy was all just going to be part of the tie-up plan. I also did see someone else posted a comment about Michelle Morgan being pregnant, so congratulations to her. I can't imagine that has a whole lot to do with the reason that she is leaving Y&R. Women have babies all the time and still continue to work, and they were very good at working with her the first time she was pregnant during her run on the show. I'm sure it had something to do, probably with the contract negotiation. But yeah, wonderful announcement that Michelle Morgan is pregnant and she's having a little girl. So congratulations to her. I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly she does next. We know we probably won't see her back on Y&R, which is a shame. I would have liked the door to have been left open, and who knows, there's a sliver of a possibility that it will be. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to keep my eye and see what she does next. Let's end up here with Diana on a little bit of a happier note, saying, we know that Neil enjoys jazz music and listening to vinyl. It's nice to see characters kicking back and listening to music in their homes for a change. These small things really help to make the characters come to life and feel like real people. We also know now that Dr. Hastings Jr. enjoys rap music, which we learned in just a few episodes. We don't have any idea what the other characters enjoy listening to. They've been on the show for over 30 years. I wonder what kind of music Victor likes. Well, first of all, I did know that Neil liked jazz. They did do some storylines about that a while ago. He used to own a jazz bar, and it's kind of been part of Neil's character that he likes and enjoys jazz. I wonder if that's something that Christoph has brought to the role. I don't know, but I really do love your comments about what music other characters might like to listen to. We have seen Victor and Nikki listening to classical music in their homes, but it would be interesting, yeah, just these little touches to know what other types of music our other characters like. When we saw the opener of the episode and Neil was putting on the vinyl record, I thought maybe it was Jack playing that old that old song that Dina used to sing to him. We know that's his favorite song. Okay, everybody, I gotta wrap it up. My camera battery's about to die. I've talked for so long. So, I hope everybody did enjoy the show this week. I know you're gonna have a lot to say about it, so go to yrchat.com, leave me your comments, and I'll be back next Sunday to see where the heck we are in Genoa City. I love you guys. Have a good week. Bye!